Hey guys, it is that time again. Let's talk about last week's Monday Night Raw and Smackdown and where we go from here. Because that's what we like to do. Um, so, a lot of things kind of happened to begin the show that call certain things into question, right? So, Finn Balor opens up the show. He has issues with Damian Priest. And you get that dynamic with Rhea coming out and Dominic coming out, trying to get Finn to go to the back with them and talk about it privately between them and not make it a public thing. Right? Um, Finn has no plans on doing that. He wanted to air it out in front of the people. So they and eventually Rhea and Dom follow Finn to the back, where they're eventually going to meet up with Damien. In the meantime, you get that tease between Seth and Dominic, which we were supposed to get that match. I say supposed to, because we don't end up getting that. But at any rate, what we do get is Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre coming out to take on Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. This was a pretty solid match. It was good to see Drew back. It was good to see him teamed up with Riddle. Matt Riddle and Drew picked up the victory. I don't know if this is going to be an attempt at trying to get Riddle back into the tag division. I don't think so. Because that main focus was Drew staring down the Intercontinental Champion. That's the story. Drew and Gunther are going to have a match. When, I don't know exactly. They're setting it up right because of the looks that the two of them have been giving each other, which has you excited for that, but they haven't actually said any words to really make anything official there. But you get that impression that that's what's coming. What that means for Riddle, I don't really know. I think this just came down to they needed somebody there with Riddle because of the 3-on-1 aspect of it. And it just made sense if their plan was for Drew and Gunther to have Drew be that person alongside Riddle through that. It was a good match. Okay. So, this is now where we're going to get that set up. Because we're supposed to have Dominic taking on Seth Rollins. We do not get that because we end up getting Balor and Priest attacking Seth from behind. Now, this looks like it's going to just be essentially a 3-on-1 attack against Seth. But we don't get that. Why? Because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens make the save. Right away, this is an obvious setup to a main event match, right? Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens taking on Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor. That's what we're gonna get. This must have been after Finn, Dominic, and Damien had their conversation in the back, in which they did end up essentially getting on the same page, kind of airing out any of those things that were going on between them. We had a segment then with Logan Paul and Ricochet. This is going to set up probably some kind of match, whether it's at SummerSlam or not. Probably. Um, it was a pretty decent match, or segment, I should say. They both kind of scored their points, so to speak, throughout it. It did what it's supposed to do to try to get people excited for that match. Then we had the Becky Lynch Zoe Stark match. Zoe picked up the victory. It was a decent match. It was good to see Zoe in her first match, and I think Becky was a good opponent for that first match. Um, at the end of the day, this obviously is not over. It gives us something for the women's division aside from, again, just the championship. Kind of moves that along a little bit. We're obviously going to get another Trish Stratus Becky Lynch match at some point. When, I don't know exactly. Possibly SummerSlam. Those Trish is still wearing that ridiculous looking face thing. So the next segment was kind of neat. Yeah, moved things along. I think maybe a little bit. Um, so they were having a graduation ceremony for Maxine Dupree, and it was an okay segment. And they moved things along by having Valhalla come out and take the jacket from Maxine as they were going to put it on her. They never actually got the jacket on her. This just keeps that going. So that was good. Then we had Shayna Baszler and Emma. This kind of ended the way I thought it was going to, with Shayna picking up the victory fairly easily. The whole purpose of this, while it got Emma on the card, which is good, they gave her a chance to get some offense in, but at the end of the day, this was set up for Ronda Rousey to come out to continue that feud. And we did get that, right? They grappled in the ring a bit after the match. I'm going to guess that match will probably end up at SummerSlam. There will most likely be some kind of stipulation there in that match between Ronda and Shayna. What that eventually will be, I'm not sure. It is going to be a good match when we get that, though. I will tell you that. These are two women that, similar to Becky and Charlotte, that know each other inside and out, that have worked together so much. And that is when you can get that great dynamic in the ring and really put on a very, very good match. So I'm actually looking forward to that. And this build has been pretty decent as well. We got Cody Rhodes cutting a promo on Lesnar. Honestly, as much as I realize that Cody is a big star in this company and they are wanting him to be a big deal, and he is. And I've enjoyed the matches between him and Lesnar, and I completely understand why we're doing this third match, because you have a 1-1 victory there. This is another one where I feel like there's going to be some kind of stipulation, but we're taking such a long time to get to what that stipulation is going to be. And I don't know when exactly that happens. I get that for this type of thing, it is hard to get them face to face because you're going to want to have that confrontation, as these are two men that are not going to sit across the table from each other without getting riled up and ending up throwing hands, right? They're not going to have a peaceful conversation at the table. And I think that's why we are been getting these promos, these video packages or whatever, separately from each other, building up to this. I think, if this happens at SummerSlam, we're going to need more segments with them together to truly build this up, even though it doesn't necessarily need all of that match, because I feel like most people are still somewhat invested in this third match. We'll see what we end up getting. It was a decent promo. It was good. It did its job. We then have The Miz and Ciampa, with Bronson Reed getting involved here. This really lets us know that this is not necessarily done. We are still going to get Ciampa and The Miz. We'll have to wait and see exactly how much influence Reed is going to have in this. If this was maybe just a random one-time thing, or if this is something that Miz has pulled in that's going to be a continuous thing. If so, then potentially they're going to need someone for Ciampa. And maybe they bring back his DIY partner, who is still with the company. I don't know. It's a possibility, but they really haven't necessarily hinted at it. So I think you kind of want to be careful with that. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot because they have that history, but I feel like there needs to be something there. Then we had Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green against Caden Carter and Katana Chance. It was a women's tag match, trying to work on that tag division. It was good that you got these 4 women on screen. You did the normal thing that WWE does with the heels winning with the dirty pin. I'm not necessarily a super big fan of it, but it I guess it did its thing. You did also get, though, a stare down between Raquel and Rhea Ripley, so that's interesting. Because I think that could be a good potential match down the road. We then get our main event. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Seth Rollins taking on Dominic, Finn, and Damian. Excuse me. This was a good back and forth match, as you would expect from these competitors. Um, Judgment Day ended up picking up the victory here. I don't know that that was a bad idea. It, I feel like what they have started to do is just start leaving those crumbs, so to speak, about that potential breakup of Judgment Day. They're not at that point yet, but they want to start planting those seeds, right? So you need to have those seeds planted, yet at the same time get those moments of solidarity, and this was a good place to do that. It doesn't hurt Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, or Seth, really. There isn't really anything that any of them have invested in working together. The fact that all 3 of them were champions and they didn't win, okay, that's fine. But it doesn't hurt them. But it does move things kind of forward with Judgment Day, which I think was really the story, right? Okay. So, that was Monday Night Raw. So let's move on and talk about SmackDown. So we start SmackDown with Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. This was a peaceful segment. Charlotte essentially was saying that she thinks Bianca is going to win, and she fully anticipates that it will be her versus Bianca at SummerSlam. We'll get to what actually happens because the actual match happens later, and a lot gets involved there. But it wasn't a bad start. Alright. We then had Sheamus and Ridge Holland, taking on Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly picked up the victory. I mean, it was a decent match. There was, of course, the tactics that Pretty Deadly has been using, trying to cheat somewhat. It was an okay match. It did its job. I don't think that this is an attempt to get Sheamus and Ridge into the tag division. Just to be clear, I don't think that's what this is. This is an attempt, I think, to showcase Ridge Holland. Give him something to do, mainly because you've already got something for Butch to do, right? He is in the 4-way match that closes out the show. So it was a good way to kind of give these people something to do, to showcase these 4 guys. And it was probably important for Pretty Deadly to pick up the victory, as they are the number 1 contenders for the tag championships. Which, by the way, I don't necessarily see them winning, but they could, and I wouldn't necessarily hate it. We then saw Zelina Vega taking on Bayley. Bayley ends up coming out on top. This, I think, is important because it gives Bayley something to do. You still got to see Io Sky coming on out. And it still showcases Zelina Vega. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a long match, but it wasn't necessarily one-sided either, though, so to speak. The main point of this, though, was to have Io and Bayley out there for the promo for Shotzi. That's right. I am super excited to see what Shotzi is going to, at the end of the day, look like when she actually comes out next. So with this promo, essentially she is telling them, you think you have control over me, but you don't. Do I look like someone that can be controlled? And she literally had a razor and started shaving her hair, shaving the rest of her head. So I am very curious as to what her look is going to actually be when she does actually come out to the ring the next time. I like that this does seem to kind of shaken up Bayley and Io, because I feel like they did kind of think that they had kind of a control over her, right? And they're realizing that they don't. But that was the purpose kind of behind this, was to have them out there for this promo to go on. Then we get Jey Uso coming on out. He cut a very good promo. Solo ends up coming out with Paul Heyman. He did super kick Solo. He did, correct? Yeah. I'm not seeing it here in the notes, but at any rate, he did spar with his brother, with Solo, who did come out to the ring. End of the day, this is leading to setting up that match against Jey and Roman, which we have seen. But keep in mind that this was 3 years ago, at the start of Roman's reign, right? As that top champion. It's going to be a good match. I think Jey has learned a lot since then. And I think he had a lot to show 3 years ago. So this is going to be even better. This is also going to be more personal. I don't know if we get this at SummerSlam. Possibly. Here's the question. Does Jay dethrone Roman? And I don't think so. As much as I would love for all of this build up to BJ finally overcoming that, I don't think so. Um but it could still have a purpose, right? And maybe that purpose is once Roman wins against Jay in that match, maybe this is where we start to see the turn of Solo on Roman, possibly. I don't know. Maybe. I would hate to have all of this build up for Jay to be just for him to not win. But I don't know that right now if Jay is that right person. We will see. We then had, to close out the show, the United States Championship Invitational. So there are going to be there's going to be 2 Fatal 4-Way matches. Last week we got Santos Escobar, Butch, AJ Styles, and Grayson Waller. With Santos Escobar coming out as the victor here, which is interesting. I don't hate this. I think Santos has a lot to offer, and I don't know that we've seen a whole lot of that yet. So I think this will be good. I think him against Austin Theory will be fun, if that's what we get. But I don't know if that is what we're gonna get. Because... Oh no, that was not the end of the night. I'm sorry. Just kidding. Oh my god. It was just a big match that we did end up having. That's okay. I think that's gonna be good for Escobar. We did then get the championship match, Bianca Belair versus Asuka. They're not out there alone. Charlotte's out there, and Bayley and Io are out there. You know that there's going to be some involvement there, and there did, not intentionally, but Flair did accidentally kick Bianca, which did unfortunately cause a disqualification. Let me... Well, I'm not seeing it, but it was a kick to Bianca. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, because I think Asuka was in the ring at the time. So, with all of this, Io attempts to try to cash in again. This is the second time, guys, that Io has attempted to cash in. And it was on Asuka. It was on Asuka the last time. That was last week when there was the disqualification in Charlotte's match against Asuka. So having these teases, I think, is good. having her not actually successfully cash in at this moment is good, because I think that needs to be prolonged. I would not mind seeing this go, and I said this in a previous video, I would not hate to see this go all the way to WrestleMania and potentially have Bayley in a championship match, win, possibly, and end up having Oscar or Io cashing in on her. It's a thing that could potentially happen, and I would not hate that at all. Let me know what you guys think about that story, okay? Or think about that possibility, because I'd love to see what you guys think of that. Um, oh, so it was not a kick to Bianca. It was a spear, is what it was. Um, so the other thing is that Bayley does end up getting missed to the eyes. Side note here, and I don't know how much this is going to affect things. But one thing that did come to light over the weekend, there were a couple house shows, as there usually are. Um, it was not a serious injury, but excuse me, Bayley did end up getting minorly hurt this weekend. I don't think that's going to necessarily affect things. They should be able to allow her to rest earlier in this week, and I would think she should be okay to have some kind of involvement on the show Friday. Um, that's just a little side note concerning the women. Couple things that we did get. So, LA Knight is going to be in the match this coming Friday. That will have the other 4 participants, which are I don't remember who the other 4 participants are, but he's going to be one of them. I feel like Rey Mysterio is one of them. Oh, I don't remember. Okay. Rey Mysterio, Cameron Grimes, and Sheamus are the other participants. There it is. Okay. So that was a good promo from LA Knight concerning that. We didn't see anything from Sheamus or Cameron or Ray on that match, but that's fine. I think the main story is going to be LA Knight. More than likely, it's hard to say who's going to come up with as the victor in that one, and I don't think we need to look into that too much as to it's going to be a good match. The other part we need to talk about, we had the Street Profits were meeting Bobby, and they end up getting into his limo for a chat. Some are thinking that this could be leading to some kind of revival of the Hurt Business. Possibly, but I don't know. We'll have to see where exactly this leads, but it's very intriguing that we have the Street Profits leaving with him. We really have no idea what that conversation is going to be. But we will find out this week on Friday Night SmackDown. Alright, don't forget to drop a like, guys. Let me know what you think about any of the things that happened this week. My thoughts on kind of where things are leading, whether you agree, disagree. Let's talk about it. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Um, we will see you guys here next week. Thanks.